The most recent chapter of your work, also the broadest in scope and the numbers of youth that have been reached, has been through the Youth Philanthropy Initiative of Indiana, or YPII as it's affectionately called. Can you briefly describe the programs and the history of YPII?
I can, and I think probably this year this is so appropriate that we're doing this in many ways, because 2011 is our 10th year, and we are celebrating that. But it started in the Youth Philanthropy Initiative, and we do call it YPII. It started in 2001, and really with a group of people that came together, some as advocates for youth philanthropy, some as trainers, and some as funders. And there were only 8 at the table. The Indiana Grantmakers Alliance, sort of started that meeting. And from there, conversations were held about what is happening in the state of Indiana, if anything, at that point. And there were several things happening. So we continued to meet. I was at the private foundation at that point, and our president was very involved, very instrumental in moving that along. We continued to add partners to the point now, and I'll take you sort of through the 10 years in a brief version, but we continued to sort of strive to add partnerships, and we worked on the idea of 3 goals, and that was to promote youth philanthropy through partnerships and collaboration, to support it through education, training, and resources, and to sustain it on a state level and local level. So somewhat ambitious goals at that point, but we've stayed steady on those goals. And through those years, then we decided to hold a youth and adult conference in 2003, which was our first, and we've had 8, and we'll be doing another one this year.
Don't you call that something?
We did call it the YP Jam.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, we have evolved a little bit, Luana, that in the beginning that was based on a variety of young people coming to the jam, sort of newbies. What is this thing called youth philanthropy? What are we doing? In the last 2 years, we have focused only on youth philanthropy councils connected to community foundations. It has helped us a little bit in maybe narrowing that focus a little. And then we have had a dollar drive the first year, thinking that if every youth in the state of Indiana gave $1, what would that be? It was small in its scope, but they raised $7,000 for local communities. We then moved on to the jam. We did a matching fund opportunity where we ourselves went out and raised $125,000, and that was matched by young people. So in effect, $250,000 went out into communities for youth philanthropy. Young people had to write those proposals of their plans of what they would do in their own local community, and they were judged, and decision making was based on young adults making those decisions. Another thing that we did was a philanthropy immersion project where we took a geographic area of Indianapolis. We used a school district, after-school programs, a foundation that was connected to the school district, and we integrated philanthropic concepts from all those different angles. So they had learning to give in the schools, and then they had it in the after-school program. That was an interesting philanthropy immersion project, somewhat labor-intensive, but it worked, and we could have used maybe a little bit more time on that. And then we have developed 7 new programs through that time, 7 new youth philanthropy programs, and 5 new endowments dedicated to youth philanthropy. And then in 2009, we decided to look at going down the road of working with families. We've always worked with schools, youth philanthropy councils, and the one area we really hadn't touched on was families. So we did some research on developing a family philanthropy resource kit, and that's what we hope to launch this year. So that's kind of it in a nutshell as far as our 10 years of what we've worked with.